Okay, so just I wanted to say that I love question and answer series, and I kind of dread them at the same time. Because I love them because I don't need to prepare like for the class. But on the other hand, I need to like prepare my whole life. It's like everything that you learn is kind of a preparation. And you hope you don't get stumped because you have to make up something.
We do it once a year. We call it the Jewish Night of Why.
Yeah. Now, I did a class in Bethel, Congregation Bethel in Missouri City, on Thursday night, and I was hoping to be a question and answer series, but I said, you know what, I'm going to prepare some questions myself in case no one has any questions. So I asked my question, and then I just spoke for an hour and 25 minutes, I think, about that question, and no one else got to. I had other questions that were not remained unanswered. So I hope we can reach everyone's questions, and I hope we could cover everyone's questions, so I'll try to be a little brief with every question. Okay?
Okay.
Now, so you asked about the fast. So we said
you started the question, so I know there are other fasts. Can you tell us what they are?
Yeah, so six fasts. Only one of them is in the Torah. That's the fast of Yom Kippur. And the reason why we fast typically is to commemorate events. Most often, events heralding the destruction of the temple, for example. 4 fasts are associated with the temple and downfall of Jerusalem. Those are obviously Tisha B'Av, which is this coming Tuesday. That was the day that both temples were destroyed, amongst a host of other bad things that happened to Jewish people. Milestones in the destruction. We had 3 weeks before Tisha B'Av, so that was 2.5 weeks ago, the 17th of Tammuz, and the Talmud enumerates 5 different things that happened. Most prominent amongst them was the siege in Jerusalem was finally breached, and the process of pillage and slaughter that culminated in the destruction of the temple began.
The second temple.
Yes. No, the first temple. I think it's the first temple. Yeah. Yes. Yes, and then you have the fast of the 10th of Teves, which is when the siege began. And then you have the fast of Gedaliah, like you mentioned. Gedaliah was the last remnant of Jewish sovereignty over Israel. He was the governor of Judea. And when he was assassinated by a bunch of Jewish radicals, that marked kind of the final nail in the coffin in the Jewish monarchy and Jewish sovereignty that's been off and on for about 1,000 years in Israel. After the Second Temple. So Yom Kippur is a full fast, and Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, upcoming in 2 days, is also a full fast. But 4 of the 6 fasts are related to events of the temple being destroyed and the downfall of Jerusalem. The other 2 are the fast of Esther, which comes commemoration of Esther's fast during the time of the Persians, right, between the first and second temple periods. And Yom Kippur is the only biblical fast, and the Yom Kippur is actually not commemorating something bad, but kind of, we talked about this when we talked about Yom Kippur. It's actually not a day of mourning. We're not mourning. It's like kind of a celebration almost, because it's a day of atonement. It's a day of purity. And it's a day, like we mentioned when we spoke about this at length, it's a day where we're compared to angels, and angels don't need to eat, so we don't need to eat. It's not like we're trying to torment or mourn. Rather, it's a manifestation of who we are on that day. We wear white, we have special prayers. All those things are a demonstrative of our status on that day. It's a day that was assigned for atonement. It's a day that the Almighty atoned the Jewish people for the sin of the golden calf. So therefore, it was a day that was ensconced for posterity, for eternity, as a day of repentance and atonement, and therefore it's a day where the barriers between us and our Creator are lifted, and we're elevated to the status of angels, and therefore we don't need to eat. It's kind of like we're superhuman on that day. So those are the 6 fasts, and that's basically the reasons why we have those fasts. So.
Some even refer to, you talk about Yom Kippurim, that includes Purim.
Yeah, well, it's called Yom Kippurim, which if you read it phonetically, it sounds like the day like Purim. It's almost as good as Purim. Famously, the Arizal said that Purim is greater than Yom Kippurim. The day of Purim, which is a day of seems like a day of levity, a day of party, a day of celebration. That's even a holier day than the day of Yom Kippurim, which is a day of awe. And the Talmud already mentions that during the times of Achashverosh, during the times of Purim, they accepted the Torah out of love. It was kind of a rededication, a renewal of their vows towards the Torah, because during the time of the original reception of the Torah, it was under duress, so to speak. The Talmud says that the Almighty took the mountain and turned it over the Jewish people like a barrel. It says, if you accept the Torah, great. If not, there will be your burial place. So it seems like they kind of were forced into it. They were forced into it. And that's a separate discussion as to why and how's that fair and what does that mean. But what the Jews said, we'll do it, and they already accepted. Why did it need to be forced upon them? But either way, during the times of Achashverosh, there was a renewal, a reacceptance of the Torah, and then therefore there's some sort of element to the holiday of Purim, which even supersedes the holiday of Yom Kippurim, which we think as being the holiest day of them all. So that's that. Six fast days, 2 major ones, and 4 minor ones.
If people weren't saved, then there wouldn't be Torah at all.
Well,
So
yeah.
the idea of saving on Yom Kippur, on Purim.
Yeah, but also it was also a spiritual revival, because we always try to look at the spiritual roots of downfalls or of challenges or of threats of annihilation. It was because the Jewish people had a certain spiritual degradation, and the miracle of Purim was also a physical, like their physical skins were saved, but also their spiritual levels were raised, and culmination in a renewal in their dedication to Torah.